Howdy, Legendary Void here, and today we have a special video for y'all. It's a deck tech similar to the ones I did a long time ago, but in it we actually have a couple of special cards that we're going to be spoiling for the Bayformers second set Wasteland, which will be coming out sometime soon. I don't know the exact date, but the beta launched recently, and I got the opportunity to spoil a couple of cards, so let's go ahead and get into the deck tech, starting with the main attraction, which is Treadbolt, Devil of the Deep Blue Sky. Now, he's a plain ranged Autobot, so first off, plain Autobots, super cool. But he's a 3/12/3 at 8 stars, and he has stealth permanently, not just while tapped or untapped. But whenever you flip to his alt mode, he gets to reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. You get to put an action from among those cards into your hand, and then the rest go back on top in any order. Now, that's a pretty decent flip ability. Lets you grab just an action from the top 3. It's nothing too crazy, but it's pretty useful. You'll definitely be using that throughout the game. But it's his bot mode that we definitely want to focus on. He's a plane ranged as well, so he does keep the plane trait in both modes, which is something to note. He's a 3/12/1, gaining 2 attack and losing 2 defense. So whenever you reshuffle your scrap pile into your deck, you actually get to put the bottom card of your deck face down under him, similar to the way Nemesis works. But whenever he attacks, you get to do 2 damage to the defender for each card underneath him. Now that's pretty crazy, because that stacks up real quick if you know what you're doing. So as soon as you have 2 cards underneath him, that's doing 4 damage as soon as he attacks. And yes, that can be blocked by Hollow Matter, but does that really matter? Let's be honest, Bashing Shield is just such an effective way of getting rid of it, and this is a bit of an aggro deck, so we are playing a couple of those. Now, he works especially well with this new stratagem coming out in Wave BFB, Code Push, which can target any character, but whenever you do 1 damage to one of your characters with your own cards, you get to choose either yourself or your opponent, and then that player scraps the top 2 cards of their deck. This is an incredible card for milling. It's good with Lord Megatron because he wants your opponent to mill. It's good for Captain Omega because he wants your opponent to mill. It's good for Treadbolt, Nemesis, Hot Rod, Private Hot Rod, because they all want your deck to reshuffle. But the only problem is, how do you do damage to your own characters? Now, there are a couple of options for it, but the one I've opted with today is horrible, because obviously I think he's probably one of, if not the best, self-damaging character in the game. Obviously he's the crazy Titan Master, he always has been, but we're going to be playing him with Grax, because Grax is just the best health head, +5 for 3 stars, and then ridiculous stats on the other side whenever he deploys. Just the fact that anytime you play a black card while Horrible's in body mode, he gets to ping himself in an enemy is just absolutely incredible, especially in combination with Code Push. You just get to mill a ton of cards from your deck just for playing the game, really. So we're going to try and build up as many cards underneath Treadbolt as possible. And the final character we have is Fangry with Kreb, which is the stereotypical combination with the two, since that he wants to be as low stars as possible so that he can get his Bolt 2 off, which again is another easy way to get more cards off your deck for Treadbolt. And then Kreb, obviously, just because health heads are good, and, Kreb. Moving on to the battle cards, we'll start with the actions. Leading off, we have 3 copies of Wedge. Now, Wedge is a really good card in combination with Horrible, in that he gets to deal the damage to himself and an opponent, since it's a black card when you play it, and then you just immediately heal that damage off with the effect of the battle card. And plus, Treadbolt is ranged, so you do get to draw a card, but the specialist part doesn't really matter since we don't have any. But it's definitely a very good 3-of, since it negates the damage Horrible's doing to himself, as well as giving you some draw. We also have 3 copies of Angle Moss Surge, which is a card from BFA, the Bayformers first wave. It's a blue action that does 1 damage to one of your melee characters, so Fangry, Grax, Kreb, and Horrible are all melee. And again, it is another card that's doing damage to your own character, so it will trigger Code Push, but it gives them +4 attack until end of turn. The second effect doesn't really apply here, but this is one of, if not the best, attack buff in the game, better than Reckless Charge because it only does 1 damage to your character but instead of 3. But absolutely incredible. Very good card. Which is why we're playing this blue pip card even in an orange deck. We also have 3 copies of Peace Through Tyranny. For pretty obvious reasons, it's a double orange. That's just incredibly powerful. Plus, you can just KO Horrible or Fangry when they're about to die and take an extra turn, since they are 6 stars or more. Very, very good card, and we do want it just so that we can hit a little bit harder. Next, we have 3 copies of Precision Fire. Now, this is mostly for the Black Pip. Again, you can damage your own characters by declaring the mode that Horrible or Fangry is in, and then deal damage to it, and then Horrible pings himself again. So that's 4 cards off the top, gone with Code Push. Very, very impressive. We're trying to play as many self-damaging cards that have Black Pips as possible, hence why we're also playing K-Main Crash. Now, K-Main Crash does 1 damage to one of your characters, and then 2 damage to an enemy. And in combination with Horrible, you're doing 2 damage to one of your characters and 3 damage to an enemy, which is probably one of the best ways of dealing damage in the game right now. Plus, that's not even counting the Black Pip upgrade you may be playing. So, really, really good card there. Again, it works in conjunction with Code Push and wanting to get rid of cards from your deck so that Treadbolt can start pinging your opponent even harder than he already is. Next, we have 2 copies of Treasure Hunt. Now, Treasure Hunt was actually a last-minute addition to the deck because as I was driving home from work one night, I realized Treasure Hunt gets rid of 4 cards off the top of your deck, and again, we're trying to reshuffle as many times as possible for Treadbolt, so getting rid of 4 just off of 1 action seems pretty good. On top of that, you're getting to grab some upgrades that you may need to play later, so very, very good card for this particular deck. We also have 2 copies of Belligerence. For fairly obvious reasons. Belligerence is pretty standard in most orange decks, either in the sideboard or the main. I typically run 2 in the main board, just because you want to be able to deal with any mixed or pure blue decks that you're going to be fighting against. Plus, if you happen to flip an Angle Moss Search on attack after you played a Belligerence, it goes into orange and doesn't actually hurt you in that regard anymore. So, pretty good card. We have a 3rd one in the sideboard, but we'll talk about that later. We are also playing 2 copies of Rock Toss, which again is another Black Pip action, so it's pinging 1 damage to a tapped enemy, as well as Horrible hitting himself and another enemy. Again, we're trying to do as much direct damage as possible with Treadbolt and Horrible, so doing that and then combining it on top of that with Code Push just helps Treadbolt even more. And of course, we also have 3 Fight for Positions because it is an aggro deck. We want the bolt so we can shuffle through the deck a bit faster. It is Black Pip, so it works in conjunction with Horrible. We're pretty much playing a ton of Black Pips just so we can abuse Horrible for the sake of the Code Push to abuse Treadbolt. Now that's all for the regular actions. We do have 1 secret action in the deck, which will be 3 copies of Turnabout Snare, just because it's a really powerful effect. It makes your opponent's attack and defense value swapped. Again, this is a card from Bayformers' first set, and it's gone through a lot of wording revisions just because it's a little bit complex, but it essentially just swaps their attack and defense at the moment. Any other additions that happen after the trigger of Turnabout Snare won't be affected by Turnabout Snare. Next, we have our weapons, which we are playing 8. We have 2 copies of Grenade Launcher. I opted to go just for 2 because we'd rather be playing the Black Pip weapons for Horrible. So just 2, but it is still a powerful card and warrants just playing a couple of them. We also have 3 copies of Fusion Bore. Again, works with Horrible, and it's just really powerful in and of itself, even if it is just a one-time use. And then last but not least for the weapons, we have 3 copies of Photon Charge, which again is another card from BFA. So when the upgraded character attacks and has less than 2 defense, you get to do 1 damage to it. Cool, you're damaging your character some more Code Pushes. As well as, it's Black Pip. Horrible gets to hit himself for Code Push. But when the upgraded character does attack damage to an enemy, you get to do 1 damage to another enemy. It's more direct damage, which is pretty cool, although it has to be to a different enemy than the one you just damaged. Plus, it's a +3 weapon. Pretty good. It does scrap itself after the battle, though. So a little unfortunate there, but it's a very powerful card, especially for this build. Now we only have 1 kind of armor in the deck, which is 2 copies of Bashing Shield. Just for the obvious, you want to make sure your opponent's not able to negate any damage that you're doing, so Bashing Shield is the best way you get rid of opponent's armors. Now for utilities, we have 3 unique ones. We have Escape Capsule. It is a black utility, orange-black utility, so Horrible interacts with it. Plus, we're playing two Headmasters, so of course we can take advantage of that by moving upgrades down to the Titan Masters when they deploy, as well as Enhanced Power Cell, which Enhanced Power Cell is another black utility that gives plus 3 health. It helps especially with Horrible, considering how much he's damaging himself. If you can give him a little bit of extra health, then it goes a long way. And the last one is Pocket Processor, because if you can get this on a character early game and just continually draw cards as soon as possible and get big hand sizes, your opponent's not going to be able to compete if they don't get the run. Plus, just being able to draw 2 cards at the start of your turn basically makes up for the 2 cards you're likely to be playing each turn. So, very, very good card. And that's all for the deck, but I did make a little bit of a sideboard over here for us to check out. We have Crash Bash, which is a BFA character. He's a 4/10/2, and he's 6 stars. He is a Titan Master. So you can swap out Fangry or Horrible, preferably Fangry, but he's kind of a specific character in that. He has a really incredibly powerful ability in Body Mode, which is a 4/10/1. But when he does attack damage to an enemy without KOing it, and you flipped at least orange-blue, you may move that damage from that enemy that you would have just damaged to another enemy. So if your opponent's protecting, say, Countdown in a last line of defense list, you just get to move the damage you would have been doing to the Omega straight over to Countdown, and boom, their entire strategy is shut down, and you're likely to win the game. He's a very powerful card. I've used him in a couple of the Bayformers tournaments and seen a little bit of success with him. A very powerful card. And then he has another ability in his alt mode that lets him swing very hard. He's a 4/10/2. When this attacks and flips a number of oranges less than or equal to his defense, he gets +2 attack. So if you flip 2 oranges, you're swinging for 8, effectively. So very powerful card, and in combination with Grax or Kreb, he can go a lot further as well. Now, as for the sideboard cards, we do have a couple of new spoilers here as well. Being the first one, Headcase, which is a super cool blue secret action. So after your opponent chooses an attacker and before they choose a defender, you get to choose a Titan Master in head mode, and until the end of battle, that Titan Master's bonus does not apply to the character it's on, and instead applies to one of your own characters. So, for example, if your opponent decides to swing with a Fangry, and the Fangry has 11 damage on him, but the head is Grax, your opponent swings with the Fangry, you flip Headcase. You get to decide that, oh, maybe I should put the Grax's bonus onto my character. So as soon as you do that, Fangry dies, because he has 11 health before the Titan Master, and now he doesn't have the Titan Master, so he's dead, and the attack fades. So, really incredible card, but to be honest, I'm seeing it going beyond the sideboard, just because it only works in specific mashups. But to be fair, these health heads are incredibly powerful, and if they have a tough head for whatever reason, you could put on your own character, and you get the tough bonus. So that's pretty cool. Plus, you could choose your own Titan Master and give the bonus to one of your characters. So if you have, say, Flintlock, the tough 3 head, on one of your characters, but they're not attacking that character, you could use Headcase to give their other character tough 3. So it does work like that, so that's pretty neat. And we also have this other BFB spoiler, which is Unfathomable Motives. Really cool. Secret action with no icons. It's applying Pip secret action. But as soon as your opponent plays a green action, you get to scrap that action and it has no effect. Now, a lot of people will be turned off by the blank Pip and having no battle icon. But just the fact that green actions are so easily picked up and played, say Smelt, Reprocess, Disassemble, you can just play this at pretty much any time, and you have a much higher chance than any other of the cancel action, secret actions, that you'll be able to cancel out one of your opponent's cards. Even Wedge Formation, which we're playing in this deck, can be canceled. So pretty impressive stuff. Unfortunately, it does not target upgrades, just like all the other ones. Otherwise, it would be great to just say, haha, no Bashing Shield. But pretty strong stuff here, hence why it has the blank Pip. But really cool stuff there. As for the rest of the sideboard, we also have Belligerence to make it the 3 of, just in case your opponent is running a pure blue list and you want to get that extra way of defeating that. We also have a Spy set, just in case your opponent is running Brave or Stealth and you obviously need to get around that at some point. and it's annoying, and I've played it against a couple of decks that use Braver Stealth, and this has definitely saved my butt a couple of times. Very strong utility. We also have Hollow Matter, and yes, I said earlier Hollow Matter does kind of suck because Bashing Shield exists, but there are a few cases where your opponent would rather Bashing Shield something else off, and then you get to keep this because they've already played their Bashing Shield. But then again, that's a very rare circumstance. But still, in the instances where they don't have the Bashing Shield in hand, this definitely is useful against decks that have a lot of direct damage, including this deck right here, because holy crap, Horrible's insane. Next up, we also have Reprocess, just because we need some upgrade hate. Yes, it does heal your opponent 2 damage, but being able to scrap any upgrade on a green pip action is pretty powerful, and hence why it's probably one of the most played upgrade hate in the game. And the final card we're playing in the sideboard is 2 copies of Hold the Line, which Hold the Line is a pretty neat one. It's a white-green secret action that whenever one of your characters defends, you get to repair 1 damage from it, which that alone is meh. It's alright, but it's meh. But it can't take more attack damage than the number of stars the attacker has. So for decks that have a ton of 4-cost characters, 5-cost characters, this is very good for preventing them from going Bicko mode and effectively just hitting you over and over again for like 8 Pierce 3, 8 Pierce 3, 8 Pierce 4, because then they immediately goes down to a maximum of 5. It's a pretty useful force build card. But yeah, I think that's it for the deck type. Thank you all so much for watching. I want to give a huge shout out to Bill Moo over on the Bayformers server for making most of these cards. He's a awesome guy, and you should definitely go check him out. If you want to join the Discord server, the link will be in the description below, as well as a couple other links that you should check out. As always, don't forget to check out my custom card sets as well. I have made Wave X, Rules of Disengagement, and then my Primus format, which is the Galactic Odyssey. It's a location-based format. People have been having a lot of fun telling me all about it. Super cool stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, have a phenomenal day. Peace.
Baba Booey.